You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Hello, it's Safety Words for Thursday, April 23rd. We had some issues, we'll say, last night with the audio stream and everything. It did not come out well. I don't know what happened there. Hopefully we got those cleared up. I know on the internet, the connection from where I've been broadcasting here, sometimes is not the best. So we had a lot of interference, things going on. I don't know what to tell you. I'll be honest with you. A lot of news out there yesterday, and I said some comments yesterday on a pre-recorded show or on the recorded show since I couldn't do it. I need to take out of there. I need to refine slightly. This week you're getting a show tonight, God willing, a show tomorrow. I do 2 to 3 shows a week here. Now, let's talk a little bit. Big story this week. Department of Labor shakeup here. And I know I've been talking to some of the other podcasters, broadcasters, whatever we're calling ourselves here. And apparently I know it happened to me, where we had some indications over the last 3 or 4 weeks or so that we had higher ups in the administration looking at some of our profiles, commenting, liking, sharing, that sort of thing. And on LinkedIn. So it indicated to me that there was going to be a shakeup. And apparently, and we heard about Lori Chavez-DeRemer, some of the things that were in the New York Post, where she was living La Vida Loco, allegedly here, all different kinds of allegations. I don't know what is true, what's not true. There were some photos of her with her friends at having like a pool party, pool get-together. Nothing really out of the ordinary from the pictures there, but you have to know you're being scrutinized. I know that's always on my mind. I'm being scrutinized with what I do online, scrutinized what I do in public, so we have to be careful what we're doing, posting, and we have an approval process, believe it or not, set up. A lot of us here, I don't know about the other Safety FM hosts, or ghosts, right? Safety FM hosts. But no, there's a approval process that we go through with our families on what goes up and what goes down and who follows us or friends us and comments on us and everything online. So if you're going to be out there doing stuff, you got to watch out. So this is from, and I do have some commentary on here, as usual, a Safety Wars perspective. Labor Secretary, and this is from April 21st, which was Tuesday. Labor Secretary Lori, and this article was Associated Press, Sung-Min Kim. Labor Secretary Lori Chavez-DeRemer is out of President Donald Trump's cabinet. The White House said Monday after multiple allegations of abusing her position's power, including having an affair with a subordinate and drinking alcohol on the job. More on that in a second here. Chavez-DeRemer is the third Trump cabinet member to leave her post after Trump fired his embattled Homeland Security Secretary Christine in March and asked Attorney General Pam Bondi, where's my mouth, earlier this month. The statement posted on social media, Chavez-DeRemer praised Trump and wrote, I am proud of that we made significant progress in advancing President Trump's mission to bridge the gap between business and labor and always put on the American worker first. Unlike other recent cabinet departures, Chavez-DeRemer's exit was announced by a White House aide, not by the president on his social media account with this. So it was mentioned by Stephen Chung. Nothing on the WhiteHouse.gov website that I can find. And some of the allegations were Chavez-DeRemer's husband and father. I hope that's two people, husband and father, right? Exchanged text messages with young female staff members, according to the newspaper. So the staffers were instructed by the secretary and her former deputy chief of staff to pay attention to her family. People familiar with the investigation told the Times. Those messages were uncovered as part of a broader investigation of DeRemer's leadership that began after New York Post reported in January that a complaint filed the Labor Department's Inspector General accused Chavez-DeRemer of a relationship with a subordinate, drank alcohol on the job, tasked aides to plan official trips for primary personal reasons. I think that was with what one of the allegations was with the pool and, with her friends around the pool. She enjoyed reunion support. I mean, key figure in Trump's regulatory approach. I mean, from what I could tell, she did a pretty good job, but you can't, it's unfortunate that these allegations are, I don't know if they're valid or not valid here, but what's my commentary on this? And unlike other times, I actually have something written up here with this. So here we have, right? This is where leaders get exposed. Let's talk about Lori Chavez-DeRemer, but really let's talk about a pattern. Because this isn't about one person, it's about what happens when someone goes from running a small, personality-driven operation to stepping into a massive federal system and nobody asks, can they actually scale up? Let's face it, she was a mayor, and now she's running then she went to Congress, right, out of Washington, I believe it was. And that's a relationship-based, informal situation. What's the Department of Labor? Bureaucracy and a machine. You step into running a machine. You have layers of oversight, career staff, meaning that they're there for whoever is, the Secretary of Labor. No matter what the party is and party, right? Some would call it the administrative state or the deep state that runs things there from day to day. With that, legal exposure, you're not leading a team anymore. You're operating inside a system you don't control. You don't control these systems if you're the head of them. And that's where leaders get exposed. So I went back into the way back machine in Jimmy Possel's mind here. And I said, you know what? This sounds like something similar to what Jesse Ventura, when he was governor, he appointed a temporary senator until, right, so Senator Paul Wellstone, I believe it was, passed away in a tragic accident, plane accident. And They appointed a guy who was also, remember, Jesse Ventura at the time was an independent, the Reform Party, I believe it was. And he got this guy, Dean Barkley, who was a political ally, not aligned with the Democrats, Republicans, who officially was an independent. He appointed him for like a 3-month term to go in and fill Paul Wellstone's seat here. He came into the Senate and was surprised by the culture. Members drinking in offices. He came in and he said he came into Paul Wellstone's office, opened up the refrigerator, and hey, there was like alcohol there, a wet bar. Pretty cool there, even though you shouldn't be drinking on the job. But for a senator, congressman, they have to host people. Maybe they have to be a little bit social, so they have this stuff there. All right. Informal norms, how things actually work behind the scenes. It wasn't incompetence. It was a mismatch between expectation and reality. Now, that's how Congress was run. The backroom deals, you're hanging out, you're, entertaining people, getting, whatever. It's very informal. And also, we got to remember that in that time frame, early 2000s, and it's still the same thing, congressmen and congresswomen could do whatever the hell they want. Senator could do whatever the hell they want. They're there. It's like a free-for-all. I remember stories that I was privy to of, all different types, stuff that wouldn't fly. Even the early 2000s, sexual harassment, sovereign immunity kicks in. They could say whatever they want, do whatever the hell they want, do anything. It was like a free-for-all. Right? Things have tightened up since then, but not so much. Either it's still very loosey-goosey compared to regular American business and also running a federal agency. Right? So what works at a small level, right, inside a congressional staff, you have to run 1 or 2 offices. If you're a senator, maybe 3 offices, right? Washington, D.C., 2 in your home state. But what happens when you don't adjust? Because what works at a small level, informality, speed, personality, falls apart into a system that demands discipline and adaptation. If you don't adjust, the system breaks you. How about this one? Scott Pruitt, former head of the EPA. Again, style didn't fit the thing. It's gone. Travis Kalanick, he was another one from another business person, not in government, but he went from small to large business, different arena. Same failure point. Success at one level does not equal competence at the next, right? The Peter principle. There, you get promoted to your level of incompetence. And in safety, we live this every day. Great foreman, horrible superintendent. Great manager, weak executive. Why? Because they weren't built to scale. They were promoted. So don't ask what went wrong. Ask the real question, did the system set them up to succeed? So as Lori Chavez-DeRemer, I looked at this whole thing and said she's running this like she's still in Congress, but she's running a federal agency. So, yeah, she has some responsibility? Absolutely. Right? The system did not set any of these people up to succeed because in safety and leadership, failure isn't just the person. It's the system that put them there without the capacity to support them. And this is what it comes down to. Look at the system that she got put into here. There's accountability. You're working for, especially, and I've known people who have worked with Donald Trump in business. A very strong leader in business. Very successful leader in business. He brought that into the White House. Now you've got to produce. And if you don't produce, you're out of it. So it is what it is out there with that. Again, now she says all these reports are wrong or our basic context is with this. For whatever next, we, of course, on Safety Wars wish her well, wish her success, and we will support whoever the next people are that get appointed to that position. Person that is, whoever that lucky person is, good luck with it, and we'll go from there. And let's go to our intro here.
Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Hello, we are back here. Now, of course, I shut it down. What are we doing? All right. So, remember that collision over there at LaGuardia Airport? Tied things up. People were killed, really hurt. Well, the NTSB today, you can show you here, released a and we're doing a little bit of preliminary. Now, I'm going to point out to everybody here, right? So we're talking about the NTSB preliminary report on the accident at LaGuardia. I had a conversation today when it turns out that person who I was having a conversation with, one of his family members is on the Rust movie set. You're saying the Rust movie set? You mean the one with Alec Baldwin that you talked about extensively here on Safety FM? Yes. And apparently I spoke to somebody in contact with this. And basically everything that we said here was true. Why we read your accident report from OSHA, the executive summary, which was like 30 pages. We went into detail, we explained it and everything else. So maybe worth it for you to go back and look at those programs or listen to those shows on that, because apparently, at least according to this person, we hit it right on the nail with our in-depth analysis on it. Now, what did we learn? You're involved in one, obey the law. Number 2, follow industry standards. Number 3 here is you have a right to remain silent and you have a right to an attorney. Because it's been my contention, and we had this conversation on one of my projects this week. You're a manager, you're a competent person, a manager, a foreman, anything above that, and working for a company, working on a construction site, doesn't matter the workforce. What you say is gospel. If you say the company policy is this, guess what? There's a good chance they're going to say, well, that's company policy, versus the everyday schlub out on the job working where, what they say may or may not be company policy. It may be enforced this way, it may be done this way, but guess what? You got to watch if you're the manager. In that case with Alec Baldwin, I know it's easier said than done. Pardon me. You gotta watch what you say. Watch what you do. You have a right to remain silent. You have a Miranda rights. You have a right to an attorney. And you have to assert those rights according to the Supreme Court. You just don't automatically have them. So my opinion is that had Alec Baldwin, and eventually the case was thrown out of court, he wouldn't have had to go through that had he kept his mouth shut and had a plan in place with that. I think him being very open led to different things happening there with that. Just Jimmy's opinion. Now, here we have, back to our NTSB report. Aviation Investigation Preliminary Report. Let me do a share screen on this. This is from the NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board, and the Preliminary Accident Report. I'm not going to read all 15 pages on here, but let's see what they say here. So there were 2 fatal, 6 serious injuries, and 33 minor injuries. And it lays out here, right, preliminary, and I share this because the reason why I share all this is that it gives you an idea how these reports are set up. So maybe if you are involved in an accident investigation, how these reports need to be set up. And if your organization says, well, how should we set this up? Well, this is where the government sets it up here. And maybe we should follow a similar format here. On March 22nd, 2026, right, so names the date and the time, at 23:37 Eastern Daylight Time, Jazz Aviation LP Flight 646 doing business as Air Canada Flight 8646 and MHI Mitsubishi Heavy Industries RJ Aviation, formerly Bombardier, CL-600 2D24, CRJ 900 airplane, registration C blah blah blah, was substantially damaged after it collided with Rescue 35 R35 and Oshkosh Striker 1500 Aircraft Rescue Firefighting ARF vehicle while landing on runway 4 at LaGuardia Airport. It goes on, describes it all the way through. Right, so that's your opening. That is your introduction here with this. All right. And so you don't see everything in the background of the screen. There you go. And it tells you NTSB traveled to the site and invited qualified parties to participate, and it goes in here. And it tells you what happened. The airplane's cockpit voice for flight data recorder and quick access recorder were recovered and downloaded. A CVR group was formed to transcribe the audio. In addition, exterior light bulbs and several avionics units were removed from the plane and sent to NTSB's laboratories. R-35's, that's the ground vehicle, data recorder, that's the ARF, engine control module, and situational display were retained for future download. NTSB specialists were also assigned to areas for data recorder. So it shows what happened, basically, what was the investigation. Now, and they did a history of ground vehicles and movement in the airplane's landing area. Right? Prior to the accident, 6 ARF response vehicles and 1 Port Authority police vehicle were responding to emergency that was declared near Terminal B. And going on and on and on. We have a map of the accident area there. And what exactly went on? Hold on one second. We're getting pinged all over the place. So let me make sure there's not an emergency here. All right. By the way, always have your dates correct, especially when you're dealing with stuff. We had somebody mix up dates today, and it caused a little crisis. We'll leave it at that. And now this is the Google Earth image in the accident area we have here, right? With a description of all of the vehicles and the movement, right, of everything. And now this lays out the context where we had an emergency, where this is where all the vehicles were, right? And this is what we have here is a timeline. So when you're involved in really any major accident, you have to deal with a timeline. What happened immediately before the accident, and what happened maybe whatever is relevant. An hour before the accident, 2 hours, 3 hours. Everything involved with that. And you may also want to develop multiple parallel timelines for maybe, like I had to do with one accident, where we had one. We went back 6 months because there was 6 months of stuff going on with at that company that led to the accident. So for the context, that might have to happen. Usually not, but you never know with this stuff. All right. So here we go, right? The timeline. Tool truck, call sign truck 7, which was planned to be the lead vehicle. Crew attempted to call tower, however, a simultaneous radio transmission on the same frequency obscured truck 7's radio call. R-35 entered the taxiway BB, another airplane that had landed on runway 4 across taxiway D, and Jazz Flight 646 was about 3.7 nautical miles. Truck 7 tried again to contact the tower before ATC responded. Truck 7 coordinated with R-35, call sign truck 1, to contact the tower. At 23:36, the LC asked which vehicle needed to cross the runway. At the same time, Truck 1 moved to the front of the waiting response vehicles at the intersection, right? And going on with that, right? And at 23:36, 56 seconds, Truck 1's crew replied to ATC with air traffic controller with Truck 1 and company, and the LC acknowledged. Truck 1 then requested Truck number 1 to company to cross runway 4. At that time, 23:37:04, the plane was at an altitude of about 150 feet above ground and about 1/4 mile on final approach, which is about 4,400 feet away from the taxiway. So if we recall, 60 miles an hour is 88 feet per second. So I believe this was at travel of about, I'm going to say round up to about 240 miles an hour. So times 4 times 90, they're going about 360 feet a second here. Right? Quick back a little bit. You could go run the actual numbers, but we're going to say that about 360 feet per second here. Right, at 23:37:07, Truck 1's crew ran back to clearance and began moving along taxiway D towards the runway. So, at 23:36:56, right? And then at 23:37, right, like 20 seconds later, Truck number 1 was traveling at a speed of 10 knots and at about 410 feet from the edge of runway 4. 33:37:12. No, there was another thing, and then it goes on. And the airplane's main landing gear touched down at about 30 seconds after that, so I was about right. 1,450 feet from taxiway D at a ground speed of 128 knots. There was a transfer of control from the first officer to the captain. At that time, Truck 1 had crossed the threshold, and now Truck 1 was just over 100 feet from the runway, and then roughly 2 seconds before the collision, the airplane's nose landing gear touched down while the airplane was about 400 foot from taxiway D and a ground speed of 106 knots. Truck 1 was traveling at a speed of 30 miles an hour entering the runway, and then it turned out that they collided at 104 miles per hour, roughly, while the plane was traveling. And no, thank God, no, again, rest in peace for the victims of this. However, no, again, very important to keep that seatbelt on and follow instructions of the flight attendants and other emergency responders here. Right? And it goes, no, with the interview and the debris field examination. That's how it looked like in the morning once the sun came up here. They did the examination. Just horrible, horrible situation here with this. And then they put in here in the next section, page 9 of 15, they put down flight crew schedule, pairing, and experience. So why does that matter? If you're involved in one of these major accidents, and my job is to do this on a preliminary basis when we are allowed to do this. We get all the resumes of everybody involved on the job, all the managers, all the crew members, and everything. This way you're able to, because you're not going to get this information afterwards, because a lot of times people aren't going to talk to you, especially if they did something really effed up, right? And there's a possible criminal activity there, So, for example, oftentimes with a vehicle accident, especially if someone has a CDL, commercial driver's license, they ain't going to give you any information. They're giving you nothing. Nada. Why? Especially if a police officer shows up and the accident happened on site on a non-public road. Guess what? They're not going to give the police officer anything. No info. You think they're going to give you info? Right? Why? Well, if they had, one of the projects I was on, there was an accident. We couldn't find the driver. There were 4 CDL holders in the truck. It was a crew cab. Guess what? No one admitted to driving anything. Nope. Who was the driver? None of your GD business, Jimmy. We ain't saying anything because guess what? This police officer is going to write somebody a ticket. This is Jersey. And guess what? We don't want that on our CDL. So let him figure out who was driving. Blah, blah, blah. Never found out what happened. Right? They said, you know what? Throw us off site then. Go ahead. At least we're not getting anything against our CDL. By the way, if you're a sponsor of soda, give us a call. I'll do you a shout out if they're on air. All right? And then it goes, like with this stuff, I really don't understand here with a lot of this terminology here as far as airport service deduction and runway status sites. Again, adding context to what everybody saw, what was going on here. Right? And right, it says this information is preliminary and subject to change. Remember that phrase here. Oh, I'm sorry. I should be sharing this. All right, so right here we have this information is preliminary and subject to change. Maybe that's a good line you could put in your report when you're doing this. Right, especially when they demand a preliminary report within 24 hours or within by close of business. Right? With that, and air equipment location, administrative controls, and everything else for that, who are the investigation team on that. All that goes into this. So that's how these things are put together. Now, as a good example, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your point of view, we have good examples on how to write accident reports written by the government. You want to see how these things are written? Go ahead and download them, start reading them. And I'm sure in about a year or maybe 2 years, we'll get another report on here on exactly what happened with that. Now, with that, right? What else we got going on here? Let's go to the Department of Labor News. We already talked a little bit about the Department of Labor News, and then we're probably going to finish up, since we are at 32 minutes after the hour. We're going to do some Department of Labor news, and then we're going to end with some political news, which might get a lot of people really riled up on that, with that stuff. So that's basically it, and let's go to a brief commercial break.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that is designed to actually address and assess your hazards and liabilities and is not standardized baloney from generations ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call me, Jim Polzel, at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you are receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
In an unpredictable world, one voice rises above the chaos. Meet Jim Polzel, a seasoned safety expert who's navigated through some of the most dangerous scenarios, from anthrax, explosive cleanups, disasters, and numerous environmental cleanups, and lived to tell the tale. Now he's bringing his wealth of knowledge, insights, and experiences to you through Safety Wars. From workplace hazards to the hidden dangers in your own home, Jim covers it all with his engaging storytelling. Safety Wars isn't just a podcast, it's your guide to a safer world. Join Jim Polzel and become part of the Safety Wars revolution. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts and videos. Safety Wars. Your safety is our mission.
OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Polzel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
Yes, Jessica, I am your father. But let's talk about some of the other Department of Labor news here. We're going to do share screen. We've been following this story a little bit here. The U.S. Department of Labor has ordered a New Mexico-based inspection company to reinstate and compensate a terminated worker who reported safety concerns during the installation of a natural gas pipeline in Watonga, Oklahoma. The department's OSHA investigated a whistleblower complaint filed against a company that alleged a construction crew was installing a pipeline without following federal regulations. Right? The complainant used stop work authority to halt the installation and contact an independent third-party testing company to verify observed conditions, which Legacy later concerned was valid. The company agreed. The company subsequently fired the inspector, alleging it failed to follow the established chain of command and complete the probationary period. OSHA determined that the company, Legacy, wrongfully terminated the inspector for engaging in protected activities under the Pipeline Safety Improvement Act, which protects employees from retaliation for reporting violations of federal laws related to pipeline safety and security. In other words, what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is that your company policy is your company policy. Hopefully, it mirrors federal law, but it doesn't supersede federal law. Oh, I love to hear this. Our company policy is X, Y, and Z. Blah, 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 blah. Our company policy is... It's like, okay, that's great, but does your company policy comply with federal law? That's a valid question. So when I hear people with, our company... Okay, well, what's the basis of your company policy? Is it in EM 385? Is it an industry standard? Is it a best practice that you developed for over the years and years of experience? Is it just, what is it? What is it? Is it just some arbitrary thing that was decided 15, 20, 30 years ago when nobody knows why we're doing this? How many times does that happen? Happens quite often, folks, right? And the OSHA ordered the company to reinstate the employee and pay back wages, interest, and compensatory damages totaling more than $35,000. Well, that was, let's face it, they probably had to defend this. So this is probably more than $35,000 it cost them. Plus, it makes them look stupid. Here. OSHA's whistleblower protection program enforces the whistleblower provision of 25 whistleblower statutes, protecting employees from retaliation for reporting violations of workplace airline, anti-money laundering, commercial motor carrier. I'm just reading it. Look, I'm just reading it like it says. Commercial motor carrier, consumer product, criminal antitrust, environmental, financial reform, food safety, health insurance reform, and goes on and on and on. Now, my question is this. Here's the question. You've been through OSHA outreach training. Did they just say anything about whistleblower stuff? Probably not. I'm going to tell, even if it's an online program. No, it's an online. Oh, by the way, you have whistleblower protections if you report things to OSHA, 1-800-321-OSHA. And then they'll mention it, right? And that's 30 seconds out of 10 hours or 30 hours. Right? Gee whiz, folks. So let's go through this. Unemployment insurance weekly claims. I got to keep an eye on time here. Right? So this is the seasonally adjusted data here. Again, look, it seems pretty level here. Why are we going out there? And why are we freaking this out here? Oh, pretty level from week to week. This goes back for over a year, this graph. You're up 100. No, we have, 150 million people on the workforce. Well, it goes up by 100,000 or down. Yeah, that's tragic for a family, for an individual, what have you. But, breakdown state by state. Again, this is all statistics and everything. Here we have U.S. Department of Labor recovers $200,000 in back wages after an investigation finds Oregon restaurant denied 19 workers overtime and operated an invalid tip pool. So, guess what? Here we go. Categorized 19 workers as exempt from overtime. not paying them the legally required overtime premium, and use their tips to supplement base wages, all violations of federal wage law. Now, this is what I'm going to tell you to do, right? Oh, Jim, you tell people to do things all the time. If you have someone entering into the workforce, or if you are in the workforce, go and look up the laws for exempt and non-exempt employees from overtime. What the requirements are. I was having a conversation with somebody today on this. With this, because he had some concerns that his employer was misclassifying him. And I said, well, look up this thing, Fair Labor Standard Act, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out his employer was doing the right thing, with the information I had. Right? I said, look, the employers have to obey the law. The decisions are made for them for a whole with the Fair Labor Standards Act. It may not be fair to the employee. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat. Does this law need to be absolutely? Obama did it in an ancillary, not exactly with this, with the whole thing that if you're a salaried worker, you got to make a certain amount of money and everything else. That was one of the things I absolutely agreed with him on. That was a good move. All right, it took him a while to get there because of legalities and lawsuits. However, I'm going to tell you this. A lot of you safety people out there are misclassified. They have you down as salaried, but are you in practice, right? And they can write up these nice little things, right? Break out the nice keyboard and now the AI, and they can go through it and say, oh, doesn't this look good? This job description says that they are salary, and that they are overtime exempt, and that they are salaried workers. And then what happens? Someone complains to do an investigation. What the hell happens? Everybody, come on. He knows what it is. It's you go looking at stuff, and guess what? Okay, yeah, a safety guy is salaried. He's making decisions. She's making decisions. She's doing this. And then you look at the reality. What are they doing? They're filling out checklists. Guess what? You can get a first-year guy right out of college or a girl right out of college fill out checklists. Well, can they change that checklist? No. Do they have input in developing that checklist? No. So basically, you're giving them the same job duty as you would an operating engineer or a laborer or a carpenter. Well, not really. They're a safety professional. Oh, okay. So they're not allowed to make any decisions there. There's no control over that. You're having them plug numbers into a system, plug checks into a system. Guess what? That might not, and I'm not going to make any legal determination here for you. That's up to the Department of Labor. That may not be a salary position, a work time. So you might be, well, Jim, we require them to do accident investigations. Okay, so do you send them to like accident investigation school? Because that's like a couple of day class to do the basics. Oh, no, we didn't do this. They had their OSHA 30-hour training. OSHA 30-hour doesn't really cover that. No, probably not. We're talking about years of experience. You have to do. Jim. Okay, so they write a thing up that this is what caused the accident, that the system caused the action, and we have a bad system here. They submitted that, and you rejected it, said, no, you're going to write what I tell you you're going to write, right? You're going to write what I'm going to tell you you're going to write, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? Right? You're going to do well, guess what? That's not a salary position on that. All right? All this stuff goes into it. Hold on one second here. I'm going to cut to commercial break because someone is calling.
This is going to blow your mind. There's a new daytime talk show on your local cable access station. What happens when safety, scandal, and heartbreak collide? Welcome to Safety Wars, the talk show. Today's episode is a doozy. Imagine confronting your unsafe supervisor who just happens to be your ex-wife's new hubby. Talk about a powder keg. But wait, there's more. We've got an exclusive interview with a corporate exec who's taken out life insurance policies on his riskiest workers, hoping to cash in on a deadly mishap. Yup, you heard that right. It's a real-life plot twist you can't make up. Tune in as Jim Posel, CSP, our very own Jerry Springer of safety, dives deep into this explosive confrontation. Sparks will fly and secrets will be exposed. Catch the full episode on Safety Wars on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform. Don't miss out on the drama that could save your life. Like and share now, and stay safe, folks.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all three books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
I'm sorry about that. You know, we are doing this. We do have a lot of stuff going on here. So let me see if we have... Pardon me. Yes, they still have this. So we're going to be sharing the screen, playing the video from Tuesday here with this.
Good afternoon. Today, a few minutes ago, in the Middle District of Alabama, a grand jury returned an 11-count indictment charging the Southern Poverty Law Center with 6 counts of wire fraud, 4 counts of bank fraud, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering. According to the charges in the indictment, the SPLC is a nonprofit entity that purports to fight white supremacy and racial hatred by reporting on extremist groups and conducting research to inform law enforcement groups with the goal of dismantling these groups. As the indictment describes, the SPLC was not dismantling these groups. It was instead manufacturing the extremism it purports to oppose by paying sources to stoke racial hatred. The indictment describes this conduct in detail, but one troubling example is that the SPLC was paying a member of the leadership group that planned the Unite the Right protest in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017 that resulted in the death of 1 person and injured dozens more. This particular person being paid by the SPLC allegedly received approximately $270,000 over the course of 8 years. In total, according to the indictment, between 2014 and 2023, SPLC paid at least $3 million to 8 individuals at least. These individuals were affiliated with the Ku Klux Klan, United Klans of America, National Socialist Movement, Aryan Nations Affiliated Sadistic Souls Motorcycle Club, the Nationalist Socialist Party of America, Nazis, and the American Front. Now, as the indictment lays out, after SPLC paid members of these extremist groups, it created work product that reported on these activities that the members participated in or contributed to. And to that end, it was doing the exact opposite of what it's told its donors it was doing. Not dismantling extremism, but funding it. To carry out this scheme, SPLC created bank accounts in the name of at least 5 completely fictitious organizations that had no bona fide employees or legitimate business purpose. The money was passed from SPLC to one sham account to a second sham account and then loaded onto prepaid cards to give to the members of the extremist groups. This was designed to shield the source of those funds, and because of this, SPLC is also charged with one count, as I said earlier, of conspiracy to commit money laundering. In conclusion, I want to thank the acting U.S. Attorney in the Middle District of Alabama, Kevin Davidson, who's in his district right now and not able to be with us, for bringing this important case, along with the FBI team in Alabama for their hard work during this investigation. This investigation is ongoing, and I'd like to ask Director Patel to say a few words as well.
Would help if I turn the microphone on. I know. No, let me back up here. A lot of people are owed an apology here. A lot of people are owed an apology because there are people that said Charlottesville seemed like an agent provocateur did that whole thing back in 2017, I think was, or 20, with all that other stuff, right? I know let me preface this by saying everyone's innocent until proven guilty, even Southern Poverty Law Center with that. So I don't know if these allegations are true or not. It's kind of hard to say that they're politically motivated when you had a federal grand jury here with this. Kind of hard and kind of difficult to say that. Because then you'd be into the area of conspiracy theories. So we're not doing that. We try to talk about fact here. That's what I would say, number one. Number two, right? I know two people who have been mischaracterized by the Southern Poverty Law Center that basically ruined their lives. It was a death sentence to their career. We had one woman who was a young woman here, stalked by people because she made the Southern Poverty Law Center's hit list, basically, on this. This is a bad person, blah, blah, blah. What she said was not true. But because she was a public figure at the time, not a damn thing she could do about it. We're talking she's riding the tube in D.C., their subway, and you got people stalking her on the subway. Because they put her picture, they put her description, or if they didn't put their picture, they put her description, links, and people got the horrific things. Her boyfriend, alleged boyfriend, thought it was her boyfriend, going out with the guy for a while, took some very personal photos of her unknowingly there, and various states of undress, and has pasted them all over the internet. Somebody else I know was a similar thing, a much older gentleman who made their list as being racist, and he happened to be African American. But he supported racist people, allegedly. All not true. All completely not true. They ended up, now guess what? Now we have a situation here. And this is why I always tell people, be careful when you go. I said it a couple of weeks ago with the No Kings rallies. I said back in October with the big No Kings rallies. Be careful who you get involved with. So January 7th or January 6th, 2021, I got a phone call. Dude, aren't you going down there? No, I ain't going down there. There's going to be a problem. And you're nuts if you're going there. Because agent provocateurs are there. And, oh, Jimmy, you're nuts. Oh, there are no agent provocateurs. You're a conspiracy theorist. Well, guess what? Here we have allegations from a federal grand jury against a thing that they are actually financing the people that they're against. And these people are involved in some pretty serious guovno out there. Doesn't happen? Well, guess what? Here we have enough proof for an indictment, at least, by a federal grand jury that this stuff happens. Last week, I was talking about how half of these people and these activist groups don't even file income taxes probably, or they file fraudulent income tax. They make sure that they don't have an income. They make sure that they don't own anything. This way, if they get sued, they go, well, what are you going to get? You're going to get nothing. In the meantime, they don't even have a freaking cell phone. Oh, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that happens here with this. So what's the moral of the story? Know who you're supporting. Know who you're donating to. Where's that money going? And everything else. What are they doing? By the way, guy in North Jersey. And by the way, you can go on, and it was there yesterday, and I had the screenshot on the Southern Poverty Law Center's thing where they were like, put the FBI back in, and this story was from the 2000s. They put the FBI in a bad light, 2009, because they had a white supremacist in North Jersey who broadcast. He ended up going to prison for some stuff, but they still broadcast. I won't mention his name. If you listen to the old Bob Grant show, you know who I'm talking about. He ended up going and being on the FBI payroll. Oh, well, he's so bad. Now they're supporting the same groups on their payroll, allegedly, to the tune of $3 million. I doubt the FBI spent $3 million. But again, there's agent provocateurs all over that. So what's the moral of the story? You're at an event, and there's somebody up there getting all riled up. Hey, yeah, this happened on January 6th. Also, right? And there were all these government informants were allegedly identified because those were the ones who were riling things up. They didn't end up getting convicted of everything. So, government informant. Agent provocateur on somebody's payroll. That's my conclusion. Maybe wrong, but they're doing. You're at an event, public event, and there's somebody there getting all riled up, trying to rile up the crowd, and he's not an official person. He's a guy in the crowd, girl in the crowd. Get the hell away from him. Bad news. That's my advice. And that's how you're going to fight the safety war, even in your workplace. We talked about a job up in Swiftwater, Pennsylvania, where you had a shop steward trying to egg on every safety person to go up there and make arguments, every safety person they didn't like, to make arguments against the management. That way, the safety person gets fired, not him. So how did I circumvent that? I said to him, I tell you what, John, you're obviously very passionate about this situation. I said, and you're very articulate, much more articulate on me, and you have this very well thought out. I tell you what, why don't we go up to the management, and I'll walk up there right now, and I'll stand behind you and watch you make this argument. Jim, that's your job. No, it's not my job. You're the shop steward. You're the union official here. Technically, well, okay, guess what? There's an agent provocateur out there trying to get you riled up, trying to trick you, get you all riled up to make complaints. Very easy trap to fall into, whether you're dealing with politics or the workforce. So that's what I got for tonight. I went slightly over here. And for Safety Wars, Safety FM, never all of those other safety people out there, good night, and we will catch you, God willing, tomorrow. If not, I always say this weekend.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and 1 consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.